Welcome to After Effects. In this first lecture, we'll be looking at an introduction to the graphic user interface, an introduction to the program itself, and we'll be creating one animation. When one first launches After Effects, you will notice that you are greeted by this home screen. You're able to create a new project from the screen, you're able to open an existing project, or you're able to access any recently opened files that you've just worked on. For now, we're going to create a new project, and you will notice now that you see this screen over here. We need to create a new composition. A composition is the container or the framework that will contain any content for your After Effects project. We're able to name it from the top section. We're going to call this rock and roll. We're now able to use a preset. Pulling down the list, we're able to use numerous presets, but this is the most popular one, for example, for YouTube and for social media, the HDV/HDTV 720/25. When you click on that, it tells us that this preset size is 1280 by 720 pixels. It's at a frame rate of 25 frames per second, and we need to just go and set the duration at 5 seconds. To set it to 5 seconds, you highlight both those digits, you type in 05. We notice that the background color of this composition will be black. We click OK. We now see the graphic user interface of After Effects, and our composition is center stage. To start off with this first project, we're going to head on over to the toolbar. We're going to select the horizontal type tool, and we're going to click, and we're going to type in rock and. We take the selection tool, which is your normal selection tool like you'll find in the other Adobe programs. We move it down. What we do notice here is the anchor point. As we've seen in the other Adobe applications, the anchor point is the point around which an effect or a transition or a transformation will occur. For example, if I use the rotation tool and I rotate the text, we can now see that it is rotating around the bottom left-hand corner. If we would like to center the anchor point, there's a very quick and effective shortcut. You head on over to the toolbar, to the anchor point tool. You hold the command key or the control key if you're on a Windows computer, double click on it, and your anchor point has been centered. While we're learning the program, let's have a look at what has been created. We can see over here is our composition called rock and roll. Here is our text layer, and right next to it to the right is our timeline. That is our playhead. The playhead moves across an animation, and every time it encounters a state of change, it changes the material on your stage. To effect a change, we're going to use keyframes. A keyframe is a marker that will denote a change of state in an object. Let's have a look how this is going to work. Now that we've typed in the text, maybe this wasn't the font we wanted to use. So we head on over to the character panel, click on it to expand it, and you're able to now choose your font, the family, the color, the font size, stroke, horizontal scale, leading, tracking, all of the common typographic controls you'll find in the other Adobe programs. While we're still in the panels, let's click on the Align panel, and let's align this horizontally. It's now center stage. We're now going to go and expand the transform controls for this text layer, and for this example we are going to expand the scale. We just spoke about keyframes. To add a keyframe, we're going to click on the stopwatch. Ensuring that the playhead is at the 0 seconds position, which will indicate the start of the animation, we're going to add a keyframe of scale over there. We now are going to tell the program that when the animation starts, we would like this scale to be at 10%. You just press enter. We can now see it has scaled down to 10%. This is the same procedure you will use throughout your After Effects career. in creating and setting up an animation. You move the playhead to the beginning of the animation. We now drag the playhead across to where we would like the animation to end at, let's say, 4 seconds. You will notice the absence of a keyframe. As soon as we change the value, a keyframe will automatically be added. We're now going to change that value to 100% and press enter. You now notice that a keyframe has been added. If I scrub the timeline back to 0 and I press the spacebar, we can now see how our animation has encountered the keyframes and has completed our request. The second part of our animation was the second text sentence, which is roll. Always good practice, move the playhead right back to 0-second position. Please make sure nothing is selected just by clicking out. And we're going to take the type tool and we're going to click and we're going to type in roll. I will take the selection tool. I can move it. And I think at this point, I'm just naturally going to set the anchor point to the center. Command double click and your anchor point is centered. So for the roll animation, I'm going to expand the controls of the layer, the transform controls. We're not going to do scale at this point. At this point, we're going to animate the position. With the playhead being at 0 seconds, I take the normal selection tool. I move it off to the left-hand side of the screen, and that's where I'd like it to be. And I'm going to keyframe that position. Click on the stopwatch. A keyframe has been added. I would also like this to scroll across for 4 seconds. So I now advance the playhead over to the 4-second position. And I am going to use the selection tool. I'm going to move this while holding shift. And I'm now creating a motion path. And I'm going to move it across to the end of the screen where it's not visible anymore. As in the previous example, the keyframe was naturally added. I can rewind the animation, press the spacebar, and there our animation is playing very nicely. So I hope that this is setting the basic foundations for you, for your knowledge of timeline indicator, playhead, keyframes, and animation.